I was on my laptop and then I was leaning, and then a couple minutes went by and my thighs, my upper thighs, I felt like the blood circulation wasn't moving because I felt numb. I felt like, yeah, I don't know I don't know how to describe the sensation, but I felt like it was just numb and sore. And then I was like, and then so I went ahead and sit better, and I was like, hold up, don't tell me that my blood circulation from my upper thighs is not functioning properly or flowing properly because of my excess weight. My huge stomach is just so much weight, and it was cutting the circulation of my legs. I did more research, and I noticed that a lot of people who are 300 or over 400 pounds, that they actually need to move their fat around constantly because it affects the blood flow of their body.
The body positivity movement supports the food industrial complex, the medical industry, and the pharmaceutical industry. So it's really feeding a circle of toxicity that gives everyone more money, and the only person who doesn't benefit from it is you, the person who has the heart right inside and the eyes inside their body. So it's very interesting that you said that.
Yeah, pills are never the solution. I shouldn't say never, but I mean, like if you have a life-threatening situation and you need the pills, of course, you should take the pills. But I don't believe that there's a weight loss pill, for example, or a weight loss injection. I don't believe that there are pills that work long-term for depression or anxiety. I don't believe that I think a lot of the pills that are given are not actually, like you said, they're very expensive and they have huge consequences, and people think that they're the easy solution, but actually they're a dangerous solution, and they give them to you so easily, but they don't help you actually to get off of them.
I have so many cute shoes I can't wear anymore because I lost a shoe size and a half. So yeah, it's crazy. But Jasmine, what I really wanted to tell you was that when you break the 200, I cried so much. I was so angry and anxious and upset because I was battling the 200. I'd lose 5 pounds, go back to 200, go back under to 190, then go back up to 195. And it was it was the most crazy juggle.
Hi, ladies.
Hey. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet y'all. So how did you guys know about me?
Very curious. I found you on, what was it? I think I found you on Instagram. And then I saw that you were going to the Turning Point event. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way, I'm going to that. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I was like, I feel like you'd be a great person to interview. And then I saw that you were also on whatever. And I was like, that is so cool. So that you already had experience, and I just loved your presence and your confidence. I was like, this is a great person to interview. So I'm so grateful you responded.
Yeah, thank you. I was very curious. I was like, where did they find me at? But yeah, Brian is a great guy. I'm still connected with him. He's the host of the Whatever podcast. I actually invited him to the AmFest, but he was like, no, I'm not working. So I was like, okay, whatever. But
nice of you.
Yeah, I was like, come, because he had Candace Owens there, and I was like, oh, Candace might be here. I met some other people that were in his podcast that are also conservative Christians, like Chase. I met him there. I introduced myself to him. He was at AmFest. So yeah, I actually work for Turning Point USA, specifically for TPUSA Faith, and I do all the digital marketing for their social media accounts. So I manage and oversee 14 social media accounts. So definitely keeps me busy, but yeah, I'm so excited to connect. So let me know, what I have to do to get this thing going with y'all today. By the way, Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve.
Yes, exactly. I know. It's such a great way to bring in the new year.
It is, yeah.
Well, you may not know, you have something black in between your teeth, Penelope. But you may not be able to tell, but Penelope and I are mother-daughter.
Yeah.
And it's actually her birthday tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, oh my goodness. Look at you.
Yeah. And, the goal of this time together really is just to get to know each other, and also to see if we can share wisdom and knowledge with each other. And if there are some moments that are really meaningful and valuable, then we'd love to promote those moments on social media. And, we're on a health journey, and we help others on health journeys, and we know that you're on a health journey. And so, for us, it's always about that. It's always about health. It's not about vanity per se, right? It's about just really getting to be as healthy as we can so we can live a long, free, healthy life.
Yeah.
And we just noticed that, perfect. We just noticed that things have gotten a little out of hand out there. And I'm sure you've noticed that too in social media, that being pro-health is all of a sudden like considered fat phobic. And so when Penelope tuned me into that, Jasmine, I was like, what? Like, that's not a thing. And she's like, Mom, it's a thing. And I was like, we have got to right this tide and get more and more information out there, and help people. You know, it's hard. It's confronting to be healthy sometimes, because it may, like, maybe I just want to have ice cream tonight, you know, and I know that's not going to bring me closer to my goal. And so, you know, there are compromises that we're always making. And so just to like have to turn that around, and to see what's happening in social media right now with the permissibility, that's what I call it at least, and like using this kind of ideology as a really, to me, it's like life and death. I mean, my mom died at 59 and severe obesity was on her death certificate. So for me, it's not as like simple as just, you know, hashtag fat liberation. It's really important that we stay aligned with what's true. And how,
Absolutely. More.
yeah. So that's really what today's about. Penelope, you may have some things you want to add.
So I'm curious. First of all, let's start it off with you introducing yourself. You can tell your social medias, things like that, and then we'll get into the interview part.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, my name is Jasmine Miguel, and I am also known as Queen J online. I am a couple things about me. I am a Christian artist in Arizona, so I perform at funerals, Christian events, Christian parties, and I also work in digital marketing, specifically in social media. And I also work as a course creator. I created a course that I'm also going to launch where I help people make money through freelancing. So those are the three things that really keep me busy right now. But that's a little bit about me. I was born and raised in a Christian household. My dad became a pastor, and you know, health wasn't really something I paid much attention to. And I think the adults around me as well didn't really mind as much. Sometimes we just live passively, right? And go with the flow. And that's kind of how it was for me growing up. But that's a little bit about me. I don't know if you want me to say anything else, but you can ask me any follow-up questions.
I'm curious. What was health? What did health mean to you and your family when you were growing up?
Health to me growing up. Okay, health to me growing up meant looking hot, looking sexy, looking hot. That's basically all I meant. That's all it meant is like, how can I get, you know, like a tiny waist? How can I look appealing? It was more like attractiveness. That's all it was really. So, you know, and I don't think that's necessarily the healthiest way, but that's really how I kind of envision health. Is just, do you look nice? And that also involved makeup. That involved your appearance, how you dress, not just your shape. But that's kind of what health meant for me growing up. Probably not the best definition and not the most accurate, not the right one, but that's what it meant to me growing up.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of people are experiencing that. That for them, health, like, it's just about being skinny, and skinny, you know, in Colorado means something totally different than it does in Los Angeles. And it's, you know, I don't know what it's like in Arizona, but it's definitely it definitely means something, you know, in a lot of different places. But I think that we take advantage of health in terms of like, it doesn't matter until like something's wrong. Something's really wrong. We don't think about health as it relates to figure as much, like when we're younger, you know, growing up. Now, Penelope, when she was growing up, I don't know if you know her story, Jasmine, she was 300 pounds. She was a dancer, and then we moved to California, and then she got bullied, and she just put on a ton of weight.
Super fast, yeah. But I also thought being thin and hot was like, that's what healthy meant. I didn't realize that even thin and healthy people actually could be unhealthy on the inside, and we don't even know it. I never knew that.
Yeah, totally.
I can totally agree to that, because just growing up, it was either you're skinny or you're overweight. And if you're overweight, then you're unhealthy, which most most of the cases is true, but we never think about the other opposite end of the spectrum, which is like if you're like bones are popping out and everything, where's the muscle, right? That can also be a concern and a red flag. You don't really look at that. And growing up, I did meet a lot of people who were bone skinny, but we automatically assume that that was just their body type. Now that is just how they're built, that they eat a lot. And we always would say at home, we would be like, oh, they're blessed with the high metabolism. They can eat what they want. We always assume that, right? But that's why they're skinny, because they eat, but they just don't get skinny. They're so blessed, this and that. But we never thought for 1 second that, hey, maybe this person actually is anorexic or has an eating disorder. That never crossed our mind.
Right. It's so true. We just like envious. We live our NVI. Like,
Yeah.
how dare they? How dare they eat hamburgers and French fries? And here we are over here. Yeah, Penelope had a friend in high school, and Penelope's like, my friend smells funny, Mom, and I'm like, I think she might be anorexic because you have a certain smell.
It's true, she did. She smelled like her flesh was rotting. Like you could actually smell it in her breath, on her clothes, on her skin. It was definitely interesting. But I, on the other hand, I was the opposite. I would go to the cafeteria and I would eat all the junk food, and I'd get like 6 slices of pizza, 5 bags of chips, and the lunch ladies would look at me like, are you okay? Like, we're gonna have to like block your card because you're like eating way too much food for a 5th grader. Like, this is not normal. I know you remember that.
Yeah, the lunch lady actually asked me if I would meet with her, and she's like, "What do we do about this?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. That's definitely, I didn't, first of all, I didn't know people that might have anorexic have an order. I probably had one because there was a season in my life, super short. I was 13 when I lost so much weight and I became anorexic. And I didn't even know that was there's a name to my condition at that point. I just lost so much weight. Like I was able to touch bones where I never knew I could because I was an obese child growing up. So I never saw my body that way. Like I never saw what my arm looked like when it's bony. I never saw this bony. My bones here were sticking out. My hips, like my ribs. It was just a whole different like thing for me to look at in the mirror. But one of the symptoms I did had when I was anorexic is I lost so much hair and I was cold all the time. I had my one spot in the living room, and I live in Arizona, so it's a desert. It's hot here. AC is blowing and it's still not enough. But during that season, I was just so cold. I always had a blanket, my fingers, my toes. I was cold all the time. Until people at church were telling my mom, like, hey, your daughter looks sick. Like, she looks very weak when she walks. She just looks like she can barely talk, like, not that much energy. And I'm like a very extroverted person. So it was kind of like obvious to a lot of people. So my mom, she sat down with me and she was like, hey, people are concerned that you are sick. And again, we call it sick. I never heard the name anorexic. I never heard that specific term because I think that term is more like medical, right? It's like a medical term.
I think it's psychological, yeah, and also medical, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, sometimes that's just what we would do, like they would just say that you look sick. And my mom, she told me like, oh, you're gonna have to start eating more. She just got so upset that people were bothering her, like telling her these comments. And I remember she started buying very unhealthy, like very fat food, like pizza. And I remember she would force me to eat more and more. And it was so hard because before, when we would eat pizza, I would purposely only get the smallest size. Like I will look at the box and I would pick the smallest one and I would eat it. And sometimes I wouldn't finish that. And my mom kind of noticed that and she was like, no, you need to get more slices, bigger slices. And it was so hard it was just way different for my stomach that I wanted to throw it up. And I was so scared that I wanted to throw up. I was like, why is my body reacting like this? And then my mom was like, oh, you better swallow it. Because I was literally like feeling it. And she was like, you better swallow it. You better swallow it. So I swallowed everything, that wanted to come out. And I gained weight really quick. My body definitely hold on to that fat. And I don't think it was the healthiest way to heal from anorexia because it just went from anorexia to being again obese and overweight. So that was kind of my journey with that, but I'm not sure about the smell. I don't think I ever paid attention to that.
I really relate to you because I would go through those swings too. Like I would starve myself, I would eat food, like any junk food, and then I'd vomit it all up. Like I'd make myself throw up afterwards. And then I'd maybe lose a bunch of weight for like I wouldn't eat anything for 2 weeks. And then I'd go back to like binging all the time and eating only junk food. Especially because she always was so healthy my whole life. I just wanted to rebel against her health. And it made me angry that she was so healthy and beautiful and that I could never be like her. I could never like live up to her standards. And I just never felt like I was enough. So to make myself feel better, I would just go against her. So I actually relate to you a little bit in that way. I do.
And I think you guys were bringing up a really important topic, and a lot of young women who are listening to this will relate to, and hopefully moms will listen to this as well, because the complication between our relationship and you, and even our relationship with ourselves, or even, I'm going to say it, misidentifying ourselves through our children. Like, for example, Jasmine, your mom made it mean something about her that her friends were talking to her about you. And it does. There is like a shame that we feel as moms when our daughters are either too skinny or too fat. And actually, we don't have a lot of resources, even in the church or wherever in our community. Like, we're not, it's actually like, it's a really hard thing for us to talk about and get help around. And I felt so helpless, Penelope, being on this health journey and helping thousands of people get healthy. And before you were willing to do the Step It Up methodology, real food, real talk, real love, it was really challenging. Yeah. But it is this twist that I think every woman, whether you're young or you're old, that we're unraveling as we lose the weight and we get healthy again. Because Jasmine, are you on a health journey? I mean, you look really healthy. Like, tell us about like how you live into your health today.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give you a little like fast recap of my health journey just to kind of really hit it home what's going on today. But growing up, I was an obese child. I was very, very big. And then I turned 13 and I wanted to just be healthier. That was in middle school when everyone was like going dating and stuff. So I was like, I want to get healthier. No, honestly, let me correct myself. When I was 13, I wanted to go ahead and just look prettier and slim. And I lost a lot of weight. I did a bunch of cardio on the treadmill. And I got all this attention. I had my first boyfriend at 13. Like, all these guys started noticing me. All these popular girls started noticing me. So it was like a whole different world. And just the way society treats you, I noticed it's different. So I went ahead and I was like skinny and stuff, and I enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden, I just loved like the compliments. I was like, oh my gosh, if I only lose 3 more pounds, I'll get some more compliments. If I lose 1 more pound. So that's kind of when I went into a road of anorexia. And then my mom noticed. People told her from church that I looked sick. I went ahead and started eating a lot more. And then I went through a breakup. I went through a lot of personal things at school, friend drama, and I just started to just eat it up because it was such a big topic at home about food. Like, you gotta eat. So I gained a lot more weight. And ever since then, I've just been consistently gaining weight. And right now, I just turned 26 in December. And the biggest I've ever been, from what I've known, because when I was really, really big, I don't think I ever wanted to measure myself, like my weight.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, like, oh, I know I'm big, but I don't want the specific number yet. So the biggest I've been able to measure myself was 228 pounds, and I'm 5'1", so I'm a short little girl. And yeah, I mean, that much weight on a 5'1" girl is just overwhelming. And I was like, damn, like, and then my dad also passed away. So and it's been around 2 years now.
Oh, sorry.
So thank you. So during that time, like, I've been kind of weighing myself during those 2 years. and I've been consistently gaining weight at an average of 3 pounds per month. And I was just doing the math and I was like, okay, if this keeps going on for years and years, I'm not even in my 30s yet. Like once I'm 30, I don't want to know what that's going to look like. So that fear of the road I was heading was a huge motivator for me to do something about it. There was a specific moment that I was like, okay, I need help. And I'll let you know what that was. So I was sitting at a table and I was doing work on my laptop. And when you are fat, when you're chunky, you have a lot of excess fat on your bottom stomach area, right? In Spanish, we call it like la lonjita, or the people call it the fupa.
The fupa. I've heard about the fupa.
Yeah, you guys call it the fupa?
I've heard people talk about it. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, when you're big, the bigger it is. So I was on my laptop and then I was leaning, and then a couple minutes went by, and my thighs, my upper thighs, I felt like the blood circulation wasn't moving because I felt numb. I felt like, yeah, I don't know I don't know how to describe the sensation, but I felt like it was just numb and sore. And then I was like, and then so I went ahead and sit better, and I was like, hold up, don't tell me that my blood circulation from my upper thighs is not functioning properly or flowing properly because of my excess weight. My huge stomach is just so much weight, and it was cutting the circulation of my legs. And I was like, there's no way. Like that scared me. I was like, that scared me so much. So I went ahead and stood up and I massaged my thighs, got the blood circulation going. And then I was like, this is not what I want. So then I did more research, and I noticed that a lot of people who are 300 or over 400 pounds, that they actually need to move their fat around constantly because it affects the blood flow of their body.
Yeah.
I experienced it firsthand, maybe not to that extreme, but I did experience it. And I was like, there's no way that this is going to be my life. I'm very young, or no, it doesn't matter what your age was. But for me, those were the thoughts in my head. I was like, there's no way this is going to be my story. So that was the exact moment that I was like, I need help. And I would go to the gym by myself. But that's when I started to have a nurse practitioner. I started to pay more attention to like building a relationship with the doctor, because I never grew up going to a doctor as well. So I think that's another factor too, right? Like if parents don't go to the doctors and they don't hear the truth from doctors telling you, hey, your kid is overweight, then they might not do anything about it. And that's how I was raised. I didn't go to doctors. We had that mindset that you only go to doctors if you're dying. That's it. You don't go for regular checkups. You don't go for advice. You don't go for none of that. You only go when you're going to die or when you feel like dying. So I all of a sudden had full benefits at work. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and go to a doctor. I've never done this, but I had a friend who was a nurse, and I told her, I saw her at the gym. I was like, hey, can you tell me, how do I start? Like, how do I even meet a doctor? How do I choose? Like, I'm just overwhelmed. Like, can you help me? So she gave me an app where I can go ahead and learn about what to do. And I went ahead and built a relationship with a nurse practitioner. We did blood tests. So that was really the initiation of my health journey, was seeing a professional, going out there, getting tests done, talking to them about what my issues are. And it was all new. I wasn't born and raised going to a doctor. So this whole world was new to me. And then I had a nutritionist. So I had a lot of stomach issues too. I had a lot of bowel issues. So that was taken care of through my diet. That alone was what healed me, right? It's through my diet. Because I told my doctor straight up, I don't want you to look at me and give me pills right away. That's not what you're going to get from me. We're going to treat the root cause. And I know most of it is my environment. I know most of it is my behavior. I am aware of that. I need a team for you guys to keep me accountable. So they were all for it. My nutritionist put me in a diet that is called, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's called the FOB MAP diet.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically, from what they've told me, I'm paraphrasing, they told me that it's a diet where it kind of eliminates food that causes inflammation or like I don't know, like acidity in the stomach. And I went ahead and was on this diet for, it's not meant for it to be a lifestyle, it's meant just during that moment to kind of see, heal yourself, see how your food is reacting. So I was on it for around 2 months, and all my stomach issues like went away, and I learned so much during that time.
That's incredible. Well done. Wow, you took a lot of initiative. But honestly, a lot of doctors won't even tell you. I know that Penelope's doctor was just like, hush hush, like don't, it will make it worse if you talk to her about it. And it wasn't until you were over 300 pounds and you got your blood work back and you had high triglycerides that they were even willing to even talk about adjustment. That's how far things have gone. Like, are they afraid that they apparently think that if you bring it up and tell somebody the truth, that it will actually harm them?
Yeah, make it worse. And Jasmine, I'm so curious, like, did the body positivity movement have anything to do on your journey? Like, did it ever make you feel like it was okay to be obese or that it was beautiful to be obese?
No. It's just when you live it and you are going through symptoms of obesity, you cannot come and tell me, no matter how much makeup, clothing you put on, you cannot come and tell me to my face saying, oh, you look beautiful, and you are healthy, specifically that term, because I know what it is. Like, I know that being obese is a disease. Like, I know the facts. And probably the middle school me when I was 13 would have totally fallen for it because I was looking for validation. I was emotional. But as I grew up and as I became more knowledgeable, more rational, more balanced in my thoughts and feelings, that's when I just knew it wasn't going anywhere positive. Because anytime I look at a movement like what is it called? The body positive movement. Let me start again. Anytime I look at the body positive movement or just any movement, I always look at the outcome. Okay, you're saying this. So what is the results? Are you telling me to stay how I am? Is that the outcome you're telling me? Or is it like, hey, make sure you're healthy, make sure you're getting help, this and that? And they weren't advocating for us to be healthier individuals. And kind of like what I talked about in the podcast, at the Whatever podcast, because the podcast I was in was specifically a plus size panel. And we did talk about the plus size or the beauty movement, body positive movement. And the thing is that one of the things that movement gets really wrong is that obesity or being fat is not just a cosmetic issue, it is a health issue. And that is something that the movement has completely neglected and don't want to touch on. They just want to focus on, you look beautiful, you look pretty, you look this and that, and just treat like being fat is just a cosmetic stuff, is a beauty stuff. No, there's health behind it. There's a heart behind, like inside my body, there's a heart, there's organs, there's vocals, I have eyes, I have hands. Like, there's functioning body parts in this body that serve a purpose, and that is to help me breathe every single day. And there is science behind that, so it's important to acknowledge that and realize that yes, you need to be confident to the point that you take care of yourself. And I don't believe you should also hate yourself. I don't believe you should hate who you are. But I do believe that there are some things about ourselves that we shouldn't clap about, that we shouldn't be too happy about. And that's called tough love. And that's called having discipline and seeing yourself for who you really are and how you can improve.
Absolutely. Yeah, you are a rare individual, Jasmine.
Yeah.
And I hope that, you're really an inspiration for a lot of the women who are listening, because not everybody has the kind of fortitude that you have and the kind of honesty that you have with yourself, that you're willing to go out there and fund your own health journey and have the courage to ask that woman at the gym and have the courage to find the doctor and ask the doctor for help and trust the nutritionist and do the hard work and the changes. Because I'm sure, so how long have you been doing this now?
I've been doing this, I would say around 5 months, probably 5 months since I've taken it serious and I've gotten help from my nurse practitioner, since I befriended the nurse practitioner. It's been around 5 months. And another thing too is that us as patients, we also need to practice what I call like patient etiquette, where you need to make sure you know how to talk to a doctor. You need to make sure you know how to advocate for yourself, because kind of what you mentioned is that some doctors will tell you, hey, keep that a secret. Hey, don't worry about that. No, be nosy. This is my thing. Be nosy. Make them work. Like actually make them explain themselves. Make them explain yourself to you. And I learned a lot when my dad was in the hospital, and may he rest in peace, and he passed away. I learned a lot about how to communicate with the doctor and the importance of it, and how corrupt the medical industry is, and how you as a patient need to know your rights. You need to know how to ask very important questions. I also have a neighbor who is a nurse, and she helped me talk to the doctors when my dad was in the hospital, because it was because of COVID. He was in the hospital for, so I couldn't be there. It was all through phone. So, my nurse, my neighbor also helped me how to talk to people. My neighbor, she's also huge in lifestyle and health. So I did pick on her brain a lot. I was like, hey, look at me, like as a woman to woman, someone who, you're very in shape. Where can I start? So it's important for us to do our research. You also need to put your part in it, because that's one of the reasons why so many doctors give up and so many doctors just treat you like a person, like another person, is because a lot of them have lost hope that we will actually change, that we will actually go out
Yes.
there and change. That is why a lot of them just give us pills, because that's the most easiest path to go, even though the consequences are extremely huge and the risks are extremely high. That's why a lot of doctors have lost hope. So I really hope that as a patient, that I bring hope to my doctor, that there are people that want to learn, that want to change, that are doing their best, and for doctors to be patient on us, because it's not overnight. It's definitely a process. And I've had to do so many changes. I've also had to invest in a private gym where I have my own coach. It's definitely a lot more expensive, but there's no better investment to make than your own body.
I
And that
agree.
helps a lot.
Because without health, you're dead, right?
What happened?
If without health, you're dead. I mean, you got nothing without health. I believe.
Yeah, you've got nothing. You can't work. You can't serve. You can't be a good daughter, a good neighbor, a good wife, a mother.
Jasmine, I wanted to touch on something you said, because not only does the body positivity movement not talk about health, a lot of people don't realize that the body positivity movement supports the food industrial complex, the medical industry, and the pharmaceutical industry. So it's really feeding a circle of toxicity that gives everyone more money, and the only person who doesn't benefit from it is you, the person who has the heart right inside and the eyes inside their body. So it's very interesting that you said that.
Yeah, pills are never the solution. I shouldn't say never, but I mean, like if you have a life-threatening situation and you need the pills, of course, you should take the pills. But I don't believe that there's a weight loss pill, for example, or a weight loss injection. I don't believe that there are pills that work long-term for depression or anxiety. I don't believe that I think a lot of the pills that are given are not actually, like you said, they're very expensive and they have huge consequences. And people think that they're the easy solution, but actually they're a dangerous solution. And they give them to you so easily, but they don't help you actually to get off of them. And that's a really big problem. And you're right, it is an investment in money and in time and in knowing how to build your team. I love that you did that. It was so, so smart. So what's next for you? 2024 is right around the corner. You've been doing this for 5 months. So you've got some good like routines built into your life with the exercise, it sounds like, with your FODMAP diet. What do you see as kind of like your next step in 2024?
Yeah, so some updates is the biggest that I've been aware of is 228. I am around 2000. I am around 208 pounds now, so I've lost some weight. And my next goal for 2024 is to get out of the 200s club. I don't want to be in the 200s pound club at all. I want to go ahead and be in a more healthier weight. And a lot of the things that I'm doing right now, like I don't just look at the weight at the gym I go to. We have an in-body scan every month, and it shows you not just your weight, but it shows you like your muscle mass. It shows you a lot of other information that are important, not just the weight, but a lot of other things that you should consider. So my goal is to go ahead and just gain muscle, and obviously lose a lot of the excessive fat that I have, and to be a lot more confident. I feel like my personality already is very outgoing, but I can't even imagine when my body helps me out be more confident. I don't even know what I'm gonna be, what my siblings are gonna, how they're gonna put up with me, honey. But it's coming. They gotta prepare because I'm just super excited to just look, healthy, and not have, not be in pain. Sometimes when you're obese, you do have you struggle a lot with breathing. Oh, another thing too is like I also want to go ahead and not have asthma, because the asthma that I've been diagnosed with since I was like in high school, it's exercise induced asthma, and I also want to take that taken care of. I don't know much about it, so it's not something I've talked to my doctors about. I've been solely focused on losing weight, getting healthier, but the next step for 2024 is to kind of tackle that topic, which is asthma, and see where that goes, because I had asthma when I was skinny as well, when I was 13. And also I kind of lost some weight too when I was in high school. And I had asthma, and I was on my average weight. So I don't know, because I know like the more overweight you are, the higher risk of having asthma and actually having it. So that's something I do want to explore more, is talk to my doctors, get my lung and breathing tested to see if I have that anymore or if I don't. But that's another goal as well.
Nice.
I mean, I'll tell you, Jasmine, I used to have extreme breathing problems. Didn't they say I had asthma and they
Yes.
gave me an inhaler?
Yes.
I lost all the weight. I literally don't have any breathing
But you
problems
also gave
anymore.
you also gave up dairy products.
That too. That's
I
true.
think dairy does play a role in asthma, and I think you realize you have it. And when you don't realize you have it, then you might not have it anymore, because you're not getting those episodes of difficult breathing, or when you're doing your cardio at the gym or wherever you're doing your cardio, and you're not being confronted with that asthmatic blockage because you just can't get the oxygen in. Chances are it's gone away. That mean just as a little side note. Penelope, you, I don't want to say recently, but this year you broke through 200.
Yeah.
And it was complex because there was like a spiritual, psychological, and emotional component to the 200 threshold.
So, Jasmine, I'll just tell you from my experience. So from being like, I would say I was over 300 pounds. I don't know exactly the amount over 300, but I definitely was over 300. And just going from 300 to 200 was like a huge battle in the mind, in the body. Like you said, being obese is so uncomfortable physically. It's hard to walk. I couldn't even go up a flight of stairs without like literally almost having an asthma attack. Truly, I probably did have one. Every time I went up the steps, I couldn't go up hills. I couldn't go on walks with friends. I couldn't go on hikes. I couldn't function like a normal human. And I was being lied to by the body positivity movement that it was okay.
And your psychologist and your doctor and your school.
That it was okay to be obese, that it was okay to be the way I was, that everything was fine and I was perfectly beautiful, which I was not beautiful. I was not healthy.
I disagree.
This is the problem. Don't be part of the problem. Don't be part of the problem and tell me I was pretty when I wasn't. That's just a lie. But she was also the only one telling me the truth, too. And she'd come in my room and rip my curtains open and be like, get out of bed. Go eat vegetables.
Yeah, I kind of feel, I don't, you're in a flow, but I just want to kind of come in here. When people say you are a beautiful person, beautiful is meant to be like an adjective. It's meant to describe you. To me, I believe physically, right? Some people use the word beautiful as a trait, like you are a beautiful person. I usually use that word as whether you look beautiful or not. I feel like if you're a kind person, that's different than are you a beautiful person. But some people who do use the word beautiful as like, oh, you're a beautiful soul, you are a kind person, they kind of like When we say that I don't look beautiful, they kind of see it as like, what do you mean? So I feel like there is some disagreements in that term or that statement when people say I don't look beautiful. I understand why you said that, because as someone who is currently overweight, has been overweight, I understand what you mean, right? I understand. And it's also society, right? I read an article a couple years ago where it said that people who are fit or appear to be fit are 80% more attractive than those who are not. So just by us losing weight, it does make us, in society terms, beautiful. Our jaw is different. Our whole face is different. Our arms are different. Our curves. It's kind of like, how people say we wear makeup to emphasize our beauty that we already have. I feel like that's the same with fitness. Like you are just emphasizing your body structure and
Uh-huh.
making it more beautiful, right?
100%. And that goes back to losing the weight. Like from 300 to 200, the body shape changed a lot, and you buy new clothes. I know you're probably already in this. Like, I need a new pair of pants. It's like the best feeling ever. I don't know why people don't talk about it more. It's so exciting to need new clothes because you lost weight. Like, that is so exciting.
Well, the shoes aren't as exciting.
Oh my gosh. I have so many cute shoes I can't wear anymore because I lost a shoe size and a half. So, yeah, it's crazy. But Jasmine, what I really wanted to tell you was that when you break the 200, I cried so much. I was so angry and anxious and upset because I was battling the 200. Like, I'd lose 5 pounds, go back to 200, go back under to 190, then go back up to 195. And it was like, it was the most crazy juggle. And it went on for months and months and months and months and months. And now I've broken through 190. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. And even 180. Oh my gosh. But that took so long. And the mental fortitude that I had to go through to break that was really intense. So just not preparing you in a negative way, but one, good job for actually taking the initiative and being like, yeah, I need to lose weight. And also knowing that you want to get under 200 is amazing, because some people are in denial that they even need to lose weight or get under 200. Some people are like, oh, I'm fine at 200.
Yeah, and it's just so much more than diet. And now you really got the diet thing handled, it sounds like, and you're going to continue on that, I'm sure. And I feel like as we all keep going into deeper layers of the fat loss, the adipose tissue, that we start to unveil some deeper lessons, so to say. Like, what's the lesson? And I've been thinking about this today a lot, actually. Some of the hardships that I go through in life, there's always like a lesson embedded in it. And I feel like for those of us who are ignoring the weight that we need to lose, we're missing the gem. We're missing that gold. We're missing the lesson inside of this situation. I mean, it's a situation, right? I have too much weight. My health is suffering. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like that my legs are falling asleep. I mean, that was such a huge moment. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And there's this, and there's this like bigger topic that has to do with your heart. It's psychological, it's emotional, and it's spiritual. And I think there's some gold in that. And I think it's a little bit different for everybody. And it's not as simple as like, oh, I just want to, uncover my self-worth, which is important. But it's very unique to each of us, almost just as unique as our DNA or our fingerprint.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you in that aspect. And I do want to mention that I haven't mentioned this, but I want to, and I will. But a lot of it is like quality of life, kind of what you mentioned, right? Like you couldn't go up the stairs without maybe having an asthma attack. Quality of life should be a huge motivating factor for every individual. How you want to live, your quality of life is a huge one for me. The other one as well is just your goals for the future. You have to think about the future as well. You can't just think about today and the past. You have to think about the future. And that's something that I noticed in a lot of people who go to a gym with me. One of the common traits is that they think about the future. They're future oriented. And that affects their fitness, their finances, their career, versus those that are not into fitness, are neglecting their body. They really don't care about the future. And a lot of them struggle with depression and other mental and emotional things. And obesity is just a symptom of it. So that's something that I've noticed, is you need to think about the future and care about it. And also the third thing for me is also spiritual, is me obeying God, worshiping God through this body that he created. And in the Bible, it says that we're stewards of the blessings that God has given us, of our talents. And what does that mean? Stewardship is someone who is responsible for taking care of something that someone else gave you and trusted you with. That's what it means, right? So God entrusted me with this body that is at the temple of the Lord during my time here on earth. Because one day this body is going to take its last breath, its last eye opening until my eyes close, and it's going to be on the ground and my soul's going to leave. So this body is not going to be here forever. I know that. But the moment that it is here, the moment that it does have color, right? That the blood is flowing, my body is warm. I am responsible for this body. And for me as a Christian, I know not everyone is Christian. Not everyone has that faith with the Lord. I pray that they do, because it's definitely life-changing. But I know that it's also something that I need to get right with the Lord and be like, God, forgive me for neglecting my health for so long, and, put the discernment in me. How can I go ahead in this earthly world? How can I honor and get better at this body? Because a lot of people don't really want you to be healthy when it comes to like business, when it comes to the medical field, when it comes to those that sell medication, so it's like the world is against what God wants us to do, and that is and that goes in all aspects. But for the case of this topic, it's also taking care of our body, being responsible with our body. And that is also a huge motivating factor for me, is also walking in obedience with the Lord, taking care of this body. And that is seen on what I eat and how I act, how I behave, and my health. I need to be worried about that. I feel very called to care about my body in a spiritual manner as well.
And Jasmine, that's beautiful. And I'd add to that, our body is a temple. Whether you're religious or not, your body is a temple, and what you put in it, on it, matters. So when you indulge in gluttony, and when you indulge in laziness, and when you indulge in being comfortable all the time, it is not helping the physical bodies we have on this earth. And it doesn't matter what religion you're in, right? It just matters that you take care of the vessel you were given on this earth. And if you don't do that, you get consequences like not being able to walk up.
So is your statement saying that if we are like...
Yeah, because we're not thinking about anyone else around us, like our families, our loved ones, because when you're overweight,
well, there's also a huge economic burden. And most people don't think about that either, because it just, it's not interesting to think about, I guess. I don't know. It's trillions of dollars that we're spending in increased healthcare costs, the work system.
But do you think it's selfish to be overweight?
I think it is, especially if your loved ones are being vocal. And that's the problem here. A lot of the loved ones are not being vocal in that sense. Then I feel like they probably just think, people don't care. But I feel like if you have a loved one who is overweight, please take them out for a walk in the park and actually vocalize to them, hey, I notice you've been getting out of shape and I am genuinely concerned about you. And I feel like those conversations that are hard to have can really change someone. Like, I have loved ones right now that have gained weight, and I'm actually literally concerned about them. Their immune system.
It's hard. I mean, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear it. And it's like, if you don't lose weight for yourself, then it's really... Excuse me.
I will say...
Sorry.
Yeah. My mom has tried to have these conversations, but it just gets me pissed off.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
Here's the thing, though. On my case is that like when I gained weight, after being anorexic, like I really disliked my mom telling me anything. So I was like, it's your fault why I gained this much weight, because you were telling me to eat. You didn't get help from other people so I can do this properly. I felt like you cared more about your reputation of your daughter and people telling you stuff than actually looking at me as a human being and be like, hey, let's get you help from someone that's professional and someone we trust. Because only because they're professional doesn't mean you should trust them. Like, I was just upset with her. And so when she would try to be like, hey, you are fat, stop eating. And she would also, the delivery is super important here as well, the way you say it. And obviously my mom, she just said it as it was. And I would get pissed and I'd be like, it's your fault. It's your fault. Like, it's your fault why I'm like this. And then also, like, I, even to this moment, like, I try not to think about it, but sometimes when I do look at my pictures when I was a little kid, like, I get upset at my parents. I'm just like, how can you have a kid that looks like this and not be concerned? You know, I depended on you to learn to eat. You know, when I was breastfeeding, when I was eating, like, are my parents. You teach me the basics of eating, portioning. Like, how did you not care about this little girl who is really big? And I am just upset. Like, I'm upset at them. I know that sounds kind of messed up, but
No, it's honest. And actually 70% of children are obese today in the United States of America. So parents, if you're listening, it's up to us to really look in the mirror and be a good example and start making different choices and taking the time to make homemade meals, to feed your children real food. And there was a time, Penelope, where you were like, Mom, you are so ashamed of me every time you look at me. And I wasn't willing to admit it.
Well, that's what pissed me off, Jasmine, was that she'd tell me I'm so beautiful and that I'm so gorgeous and all these things, and that people were just jealous of me, and that's why they were bullying me for being fat.
That was a long time ago, before you got to 300 pounds.
No, but even when I was 300 pounds, like you just said, you were still beautiful.
Yeah.
That pissed me off because you know, I'm hot-headed about this. I really am, because when I was obese, you also did the opposite, where you would like rip my curtains open, tell me to stop eating sugar, stop eating vegetables, but yet here you are telling me I'm so beautiful. So I was pissed off at you. I was pissed off at my family. I was pissed off at my therapist, my friends, because
you got so mad when your step grandmother was like, you putting weight on.
Oh, I literally walked in the door and she was like, I don't recognize you at all. And I was so upset. But you know what? I'm so glad now looking back that she did that, because it put fire in my head. Like, maybe she's right. I don't recognize myself, heck, you know, in the mirror. Like, who am I? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, but you gave her so much.
Well, when you're fat, you're mean. You're angry. You're upset all the time. Your emotions are dysregulated.
Well, you have like social anxiety. Yeah, you know it. You have so much shame. It's just like soaking through your pores and just getting all over everything.
But I have to say, social media has so much impact on how I responded to people. Because I really thought I was beautiful sometimes. I really thought that it was okay to be obese. And I really thought that pizza was good for you. Because that's what nutritionists online say. They say, drink Coca-Cola, it's fine, everything in moderation. But we don't tell cocaine addicts everything in moderation.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of things you're saying here, girl, that I want to talk about. First of all, you need to also, like, we need to follow the money. I remember there's this elder. She was like 100, I think, or 90 something. And she was in a video saying that she drinks a Coke a day, and that's why she's like that. And I was okay. Like, for a minute, I believed her. I was like, oh, shoot, you know. And I think there's also been other versions of like wine or something like that. And you just follow the money. These older people are just getting paid for saying this, right? And then another thing I also want to talk about is that I can relate to you in the sense of like looking at your mom and being in a way jealous, because my mom, like, she's not fat herself. She's skinny. And then when I asked her about her health journey, she was like, oh, I was always skinny my entire life. If anything, I struggled to gain weight. I remember she told me, she was like, I remember telling my mom, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to like gain weight. Like, when am I going to finally be able to gain weight? And her mom told her, just wait until you're 18, wait until you have kids and you'll gain weight. So my mom's whole entire like upbringing was so different, because she was always like underweight. She couldn't put on weight. And then she had me, and my body is different. And she never had to deal with someone who was obese, because she was never obese herself, right? So exactly. I was kind of jealous, because I was like, first of all, you were skinny all your life and you're still skinny. And I just feel like I couldn't relate to my mom. And another thing is that, like, I never saw my parents going to the gym. I never saw them working out at home. I never saw them. They would just come home, rest, eat, and that's it. And then later on, when I went to like college, and like I would hear my colleagues saying, oh, I'm going hiking with my mom, I'm going hiking with my uncle. I'm just like, hiking with what? Like, you know? So I was just like, you guys, my parents could also like have made it fun for me. They could have made it like introduce me to hiking and like all these fun ways to be active, but that was just something that I didn't get. However, I do feel like when you know, you cannot, there's a certain point in your life where you cannot blame your parents anymore. All you can
Nope.
do is reflect and learn,
Yep.
and that's it. Like that's it. There's no victim mentality here. There's none of that stuff. It's just moving forwards from here. That's the best thing we can do.
It's also something I feel like overweight. A lot of overweight people. When I was overweight, I blamed her for everything. It was her fault that I was fat. It was her fault that I was getting bullied. It was her fault. Everything was her fault. And when I lost the weight, I was like, it's my fault. I choose what I put in my body. I'm the one that puts the food in my mouth. I'm the one that moves my body every day. So I'm the one that makes the decisions about how I think, eat, feel, move, everything. It has nothing to do with you. And today's culture is so sensitive. Like, oh, well, my mom, she body shamed me my whole life. It's like, okay, and what are you going to do about it? You're going to keep talking about it, or are you going to make a change? Are you going to end the pattern and not body shame yourself and start being like, okay, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to eat healthy every day. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. When you look at it from an objective standpoint, it's not that difficult.
No, but I think you're right, Jasmine. You were saying follow the money. And when you think about the companies that control the junk food and the prepared foods that you find at the grocery store, and you really look at what they're trying to do, they're businesses at the end of the day, and they're interested in their bottom line. And it's good for their bottom line to keep you eating their prepared foods. And those prepared foods happen to just switch your brain into an addictive mindset.
And you know why? Because they put cane sugar in it, and cane sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Flavorings, cane sugar, there's a whole psychology behind the taste buds. And they're going to keep you hooked in. So it's really important that we get back to real food that was made in nature by God. In my opinion, I believe in God, God's kingdom. God prepared the food for us to eat. And the further we get away from that, the further denatured we get from nature in our diets, the further we get away from ourselves, our true self. And what's so amazing is that the human body will heal itself. And it doesn't really matter how old you are, how much weight you had to lose. If you just keep at it and you keep letting the body heal itself, it will. And your brain will heal itself, and it will shift back into a sane mind and out of that addictive state. And then you can get out of the grips of the food industrial complex. You can get out of the grips of that, medicine that you think that you might need. And you will bring your body and your mind back into balance. That is 100% certain.
One thing that really helped me is, I'm not sure if you know this doctor, but part of my health journey right now is not just learning about fitness and the lifestyle, but also learning about the brain. And there's this doctor called Dr. Amen. I had the pleasure of
Oh,
meeting.
yeah, no. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I had a pleasure of meeting him in person. He came to one of the work events, and I got his book, and I follow him on his Instagram. His content is very educational and impactful. And I've learned so much about how brain and food and like how everything really plays a factor, and how mindset is a huge factor. And he's a psychiatrist. I don't think I can say it right.
Psychiatrist, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he is. And he's worked with like a lot of famous people, like Justin Bieber when he went through his whole like episodes and stuff. Like he worked with him. He worked with all the Kardashians. He worked with a lot of behavioral issued young people that were in jewelry, people who were struggling with a lot of things when they come out of like the military, PTSD. I think he worked with a lot of people with those issues, even behavioral issues, severe behavioral issues, that they're in juvie, they're in trouble, they're in jail. And I read, and I'm still going through his book, but that has also been a huge factor in my health journey, is learning about the brain. And also the Bible. The Bible talks a lot about the brain. It talks about our mindset. It talks about renewing our mind. It talks about our heart. So the Bible alone has helped me so much to incorporate his word into my health journey. It is the living word. It is meant to help you be like Christ on this earth, right? Be a reflection of him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what he says about the mind is just, it's just really like, it brings a lot of revelation to me that I also have to be careful as well, right? And I do want to mention a couple of things. I feel like what I want to mention right now might get me in trouble, but I don't mind. Is one of the things about gluttony, right? I think that's what it's called.
Gluttony, yeah.
Yeah, the sin of gluttony. I think, I'm not sure if y'all have ever reflected on this, but I, growing up, I grew up in a church. I've met a lot of pastors throughout my life, and a lot of these pastors are obese themselves.
Yes.
Church leaders are obese themselves. A lot of them really let themselves go. I've heard and I've seen pastors preach, and they struggle to breathe sometimes. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, like, is this something you're also struggling with? And are you convicted about it? Are you being convicted about this area in your life? Because I feel like as a pastor, you should also, be a reflection. You are meant to pastor sheep, right? The members of the church, a flock. Is this something are you also convicted of? And I feel like in the Christian community, there are some pastors who are not practicing what it truly means in all essence, spiritually, physically, emotionally, in all essence, to treat their body like the temple of Christ. What are your thoughts about that?
I 100% agree. I feel like if you're going to preach the Bible, if you're going to preach anything to anyone that is about God or about being positive in this world, you need to be a reflection of that. So I always say, like, it's so funny. I was just thinking about this. If there's like a plus size model on a magazine and they're promoting plus size clothes, they're also promoting obesity. And so it's like, I'm not really interested in those types of people, no matter what industry it is. Promoting obesity and gluttony is a sin. Not only is it a sin, but it's also going against nature. It's going against human. It's going against life. So it's actually against life to be obese and glorify it in any way. And people are like, oh, I'm not glorifying obesity just because I'm existing as a fat person. Yes, you are when you're taking photos as a fat person. Yes, you are when you're on the front of Vogue. Yes, you are when you're on the front of all these magazines. Yes, you are when all I see at Target is obese people on every single wall. What else am I supposed to think about when I walk in there? All I'm thinking about is you being obese and how it's okay, it's beautiful, you're glorifying it, I should buy those clothes, I might look good in those clothes. So I have a lot of opinions about it. I really do. What about you?
Well, my thought. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Here's the thing. I don't believe we need to kind of find like a perfect balance of this, because the reality is that we shouldn't normalize obesity. We shouldn't normalize it, but at the same time exist, and we shouldn't completely like not sell to bigger people, right? Sometimes when I look at, for example, let's talk about online shopping. The reality, the fact is, and I'm gonna put my business hat on right now, right? I have my business hat on. I have my business hat on. There are a huge market. Unfortunately, that's the sad reality. There's a huge market of obesity people that need clothing, because obesity is just growing and growing. Unfortunately, it's just growing by the numbers every year, and they need clothing. So business wise, it would make sense to also start promoting and marketing for obese people, because you could get tons of money from obese customers, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't be something that's glorified, and it shouldn't be something that we should tell people be this way. And if you're not this way, then you're fat phobic, or you are, I don't know, sick, or something like that. Like it really is in the delivery of this. And I truly believe that obesity shouldn't be normalized or clapped on. However, it should be something that is like, okay, there are obese people. They obviously need to buy clothes. If there's a plus size model, then that's what we need to model this clothing. But again, that's kind of me with my business hat on. But at the same time, like, we need to find that place where it's not being glorified and it's not being normalized. And that's just being deceitful and being a lie that this is healthy when it in fact is not. And it's like,
No, okay, here's my thing. I have a question for you because I'm genuinely curious, right? So, like, when there are cocaine addicts in the street and we give them free needles, or we're heroin addicts and we give them free needles, is that, if we're doing that, isn't it the same thing when we're giving so many obese people so many options and being all inclusive and giving them plus size clothing? I feel like
no, I don't think that's the same thing.
Okay, but so me and her disagree on this. But I feel like it's enabling the addiction more and more and more. The more you accept it, and we have like, because you're gonna start having 600-pound models, 800-pound models.
No, I don't think we will. I think that's
we already do.
Well,
we already do.
I think that people
600-pound life is a show.
But the market is showing that the market doesn't like that, so it's not going to go very far, Penelope. I think that health coaching is important, and I think that health insurance companies should start deploying health coaches in droves to help people adhere to lifestyle changes to lose the weight. And I think there's ways to structure our healthcare system so that the people have to stay adherent to a weight loss program, and they need support. There's no doubt about that. And I think if you're a parish leader, if you're a pastor, or you're leading a community, you absolutely should be trying at least to be on a health journey, understanding that it does take time. It's not easy. Sometimes we fall back. And I think that it's extremely important. And unfortunately, there's been some information that's, I feel, been hidden from us as Christians about the importance of health. There are these books called the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they depict a lot of Jesus's teachings on health and how he lived and how he taught his disciples to live from a health perspective. And that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. But you can completely renew your body and reverse most diseases permanently with this teaching.
But Jasmine, just to wrap up here, I'm curious, do you think that in giving every size, all sizes, 20, size 20, 25, X, whatever, however big it gets, as big as it needs to be, do you think that there is any part of that that's enabling obese people to stay obese?
I would have to say yes. And let me explain. I don't believe that the solution will be don't make clothes for them, for obese people, because kind of what the example you said, like, hey, if you're giving an addict like a needle, is that you supporting it? Yes. In this sense, in that case, if we want to transfer that example to the obese community, I feel like we should focus more on the food that is being sold and marketed versus the clothing. Because food is something that it's like more of a direct cause of obesity because it goes in your body, versus clothing is something you can put on, you could put off, right? So I feel like that would make more sense. I feel like food is like, if you give a friend who is 300 pounds, if you keep gifting them donuts, you are feeding into their problem, right?
I believe people did that to me. People literally, when I was fat, they'd give me fried Oreos and be like, "You're so cute, girl. Like you're so beautiful."
Yeah, I feel like that's not the case. And I feel like that's something that I've been convicted in, like even in like Christmas just passed, right? And holidays, like when I would tell my family, like, what should I bring? They're always like, bring chips, bring donuts, bring this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. How about fruits? How about like apples, watermelon that has a lot of water in it? And they'll be like, oh, okay, go ahead. Blueberries. So that's what I do now. So now in family functions, I'm not gonna come and bring you a huge bag of hot Cheetos. That's not, because I just don't want to bring that to my loved ones.
Good.
I bring you blueberries. I want to bring you some good fruits that are not too high in sugar, but they're nutritious. So that's in a way that I've been convicted and I practice that way, right? So the only reason why I said yes to your question is because when someone is selling 5X, and let's say I'm 5X, and it is a very beautiful clothing, and I try it on and I feel confident, I feel sexy, it will make me feel content with my size. It'll be like, okay, I'll keep shopping 5X, I feel sexy, look at these pictures, when maybe in reality, like, I don't actually look sexy in society standards, right? Because there's
on the inside, it does not feel sexy. Your cells don't feel sexy. The fat that you have to like massage does not feel sexy. The lipedema that people get, I mean, nobody really talks about this stuff, and I really don't know why, because it's actually a problem, and that's why I always say, and it's very hot take, but it's also just honest and truthful. Back then, there was no 10x, there was no 12x. So why do we have it today? And it enables obesity, and I just don't think it's okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I've fallen for this too, and I mentally need to get out of this because I can easily fall into it. For example, when I started gaining weight, when I was at my biggest, 228, I was a X. I went from an XL, from 2X, from a 3XL. So out of 3X, I started buying like some beautiful, sexy clothes, and I put it on, and I felt great.
Me too.
And then I would, I started losing some weight, and I'm just like, oh, this size fits me great, so I'm doing good. So when I started to lose weight, and I was at a 3X, I noticed it fit a little bit better because it was kind of tight to begin with, and I was like, okay, I'm losing weight, okay, so I'm doing good. And then I was like, wait, hold up, Jasmine, you are wearing a 3X. Honey, the pressure's still on. The pressure's still on to get to a medium. At least get, there. So I had to mentally be like, hold up, this is a 3X. Okay, good thing it fits me a little bit looser, but we still have ways to go. But
I think the same way.
Yeah, someone else could have seen this differently and been like, okay, it's fitting me a little bit better. Let me keep doing what I'm doing, even though I can do better. It might just feed into like, okay, you're doing good, this size is, but I don't want to be a 3XL forever.
No, you don't.
And I think that's the point. My mom growing up was always losing and gaining hundreds of pounds. And as I mentioned earlier, she died with severe obesity on her death certificate at the young age of 59. And it sounds like your dad also died young. And it's hard when you lose a parent that young. And it's hard when you see somebody lose and gain hundreds of pounds, year after year and year after year after year. And I think the point you just made doesn't fool anyone. Not that you're trying to fool anyone. That's what I mean. We're not trying to fool ourselves. Even if we're in a 3X, even if she wasn't a 3X or she was a size 24, she knew. And she wouldn't buy sometimes, very often. She's like, I'm not going to let myself buy that. And in her closet, she always had like the wardrobe for different sizes. So clothes play a huge role in motivating us, for discouraging us, and maybe enabling us. But I don't think that clothes will really fool us for much longer.
As a personal anecdote, when I was obese and I was going up in sizes, and I saw that there were cute plus size clothes I could wear, just like you, Jasmine, I was like, it's okay. I can wear plus size clothes. This is kind of cute dress. I kind of like these pants. I kind of like these jeans. Wait, I can wear these. They're plus size. Okay, I can keep gaining some weight. I can keep eating my pizza, living my life, looking cute, big and beautiful, as everyone knows. And I thought there was nothing wrong with it. And when there were stores that didn't have plus sizes available, I was like, oh shoot, I really want to wear that, but it won't fit my body.
Yeah.
There might be something wrong here.
No, there's definitely something wrong.
So there needs to be more. What I'm saying is that when you go to shop for clothes, it's important that you don't have the option of a 12X or a 20X. You need to have less of those options so that you can use your critical thinking skills and say, I need to lose weight.
Yeah, like Jasmine did. She's like, hey, I'm still in emergency zone here. Don't let this 3X fool you. You've really got a very strong internal guidance system.
And when you don't have a lot of, when you don't have the mindset Jasmine has, like the thousands of fat people today that don't have her mindset, they think it's okay. And then the companies make the bigger sizes. And then the food industrial complex gets fed. And then the pharmaceutical industry. And then all these people make all this money. And the only person that suffers is the fat person.
I know.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Not only.
And the family and the friends.
No, but we're also paying for it. Everyone's paying into it. Like everyone. It's expensive.
Yeah. Your tax dollars are going to people being lazy.
Trillions of dollars a year. This obesity is costing us. Like it is no joke, and it's everyone's problem. And we've got to do something about it. So that's why we exist, Jasmine. We're so excited that we got to meet you and that we got to speak to someone who's really, you're so switched on. And you're so in action in your life. You're doing such good work in your private life, in your professional life. And we're just like, I feel really honored to know you.
Yeah. And I'm so,
thank you so much.
I'm so proud of you for not adhering to today's society, today's norms of being fat's okay and it's beautiful.
And breaking out of your family's, construct, because they tried the best they could to help you, and you really had to find your own help, and that's a lot of courage.
Thank you. I will say there's a couple of things I want to say. I will say something that has helped me is that you need to be very verbal about your health journey. And that's something that has helped me with my family, because my brother, his body is different. He's super skinny. He doesn't really gain weight. He eats different. My other sister do too. So I had to verbalize to them, hey, like, please don't offer me stuff, these specific stuff, because that's just no longer what I want to be helpful. Yeah. And sometimes I have to keep saying that, but it's worth it. Some people get annoyed repeating themselves, and I'm just like, honey, I don't care. I'll say it as many times as I have to. Not a problem with me. But my family has also helped me. It's been a little transition for them too. But it's like, hey, like, we can't just have chips out there. Like, if you want to eat chips somewhere privately in your room or something, like, I asked them for that, because your environment, the thing as well is that your environment affects you. The other thing as well that we need to take account of, is that food is a social invitation. There's always going to be food around people. Something that my dad always told me is that if you the way to a person's heart is food, or if you want to make friends, bring food, or like, food is what brings people together. So it's also important that you know how to behave socially when it comes to eating, and knowing that you don't have to eat if you don't want to eat that stuff. Don't feel pressure, like, because they're all eating cookies, maybe I should also eat, or else I'm gonna look different. Like, there's all these like psychological stuff too, like mindset, like peer pressure or something like that did affect me. And the other thing I also want to say is, when it comes to I kind of forgot this, but I do want to ask you a question before we leave. What are your guys' thoughts? And I know you kind of mentioned a little bit about it, but what are your thoughts when it comes to weight loss medication right now, since there's been a lot of talk over, like, Ozempic, Wegovy?
I've done Wegovy. I've done something like Ozempic. I've done HCG injections, which is like a hormone that helps you lose weight. And it's just another extreme, and it's just another Band-Aid over a bullet hole. So for me, it's not actually a solution. So I did it. I lost 20 pounds. I lost 30 pounds. Then I gained it all back. It was an unhealthy pattern I kept going back to. Like I always say, I've tried every diet on the market. I've tried every pill, injection, tea, scheme, all of it I've tried, and nothing works except for fixing your mind, moving every day, eating whole foods, eating whole sources, not carnivore, not just fruit, not just vegetables, an abundant realm of vegetables and fruits and healthy fats. That's how I lost the weight and lost 140 pounds without loose skin, without having to worry about extreme health issues. I am healthy today, 140 pounds lighter than I used to be, and it's not because of any of the diets or any of the schemes. It's really because of the Step It Up method and the Step It Up lifestyle. And that's what we teach and preach. That's what I and you have created. And it's a beautiful way to live. It's not a diet or a pill or a scheme. And if you are out there and you want to join our program and you want to get supported, we are here for you at any time, all the time.
Yeah, I think that Ozempic in particular is dangerous. There's a lot of research that we don't have on Ozempic, and it is potentially dangerous, in terms of cancer. That's what they're looking at. It actually hasn't been studied for weight loss, and I just don't want anyone to be a guinea pig. Right now, anyone who's taking it for weight loss is technically being tested on. It also encourages lean muscle loss. So you're losing weight, but you're losing muscle mass. And when you lose muscle mass, then you're actually decreasing your strength. You're putting your aging at jeopardy. Something that might be a small fall could be a tragic accident. It's also very expensive. I don't believe that pills or injections work. I believe that we have to really look at what caused the weight to come on in the first place if we want to find a long-term forever solution. I don't think that pills, to this point, I have no pill that works well for a long-term weight loss solution. There's also rumor that it helps to increase the fat cells because of the lean muscle mass loss, and that when you go off of the drug, it becomes very challenging to keep the weight off, if it's even possible to lose the weight. Most people lose the 20, 30, 40 pounds, they get off the drug and they put it right back on and then some. So I think it's dangerous to take these drugs.
We've actually had people come to us that have taken Ozempic, and they have not only have they gained all the weight back and some, they can't lose any more now. And they're not taking any of the drugs anymore. And now they can't lose weight no matter what they do. So if you're in a position like that, or you're thinking about taking Ozempic, I highly recommend you talk to one of us.
Well, yeah, that and bariatric surgery, or the gastric bypass, or the sleeve, these are irreversible decisions that you think are going to be quick fixes or easy wins. And I'm telling you right now, those don't exist. And you can kid yourself, just like buying nice new clothes when you're overweight. You can kid yourself by continuing to eat that cake and pretend like it's not affecting you. Like, you can't kid yourself. At some point, there's going to be a reckoning. At some point, you have to get honest with yourself. And hopefully it's before you're in the pain and the suffering and the disease that come from reckless decisions, misinformed decisions.
Yes, I love how you guys share that, because when I started my health journey, this topic played a huge conversation between me and my doctor. When we got the blood work, they told me pretty much that if I don't do anything, I'm definitely on the path of being pre-diabetic and diabetic. And there's a lot of, on my mom's side of the family, there's a lot of diabetics. Actually, my grandfather died because of severe diabetic symptoms. He lost his eyesight, all those stuff. But I didn't want to come out of it from a decision of fear. My faith really stands against fear, but truth. So one of the things they tried is Ozempic, and but she was kind of honest. She was like, we can try it, but honestly, it's usually for weight loss and diabetics, and you don't have that. So I did a lot of research, and I was like, why am I going to be taking something that I'm not diabetic? Like, it doesn't just messes around with like your appetite hormones, but also with your like blood pressure, I think, or cholesterol. So I was kind of like, so I came back to my doctor and I was like, hey, like, I did some research. I asked other people, and I don't appreciate how you didn't mention that you would be willing to give me Ozempic when I don't have diabetes. Like, that is not something I feel comfortable you really entertaining this conversation, because I'm not a candidate. Like, I had an honest conversation with this doctor, and I was like, you shouldn't have even thought about recommending me this, because I'm not diabetic, and that's something that is for diabetic people. And the doctor ended up telling me that I didn't actually get approved for it, or whatever that means. And I was like, good, but I did have that conversation with my doctor. And then we tried to give it a talk with Wegovy, which is different, right? Ozempic and Wegovy is like supposedly just for weight loss. So I was like doing my research, and I was like, okay, well, let's see. And we did try. I never took it, but it was like 1,200 a month, and that's when I noticed that my insurance would not cover. And here's the thing that many people don't know: insurances, many of them, not all, many of them are not going to cover weight loss medication. Why? Because they don't want you to get healthy. They want you to get sicker and sicker and all these other stuff. So when I had this awakening that I was like, oh shoot, like, I want help with losing weight. Obviously, I was interested in the medication route as well. I was like, insurance is not going to cover anything. It's all going to come out of pocket. And I was like, wow, how are people going to do it that don't have the money, don't have the resources? And maybe their last resort, let's say, is like medication, to give them a little boost or something. I was like, it's going to be very hard. And then it was so like, my doctor put in the order, or to get the prescription, and there was no pharmacy that had it because there's a shortage in it. Everyone is trying to get this drug. And I was like, okay, this is something weird. Like, why is everyone trying to get this drug? Like, what's the hype about it? But thankfully I didn't take that. But I did try semaglutide. and I took those injections. But before we even did that, I went ahead and invested in the gym that I spoke to you about, like the private gym that I have a coach. I worked out with them a couple months before. And because here's the thing, right? Kind of what you said is people can take this drug and not change like the root cause and gain it right back, right? And I don't think anyone should be taking weight loss medication unless it's just like the last of options. And you
Right.
be aware of what you're risking. Like you need to be aware of that. And if that's something that you're willing to risk because maybe you're like so obese and it's just, kind of like what's the best of what's that term that they use? Like what's the better of the both?
Oh yeah, the lesser evil, the lesser of the evils, like which cigarette to smoke.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'm just like, but you have to realize the lack of research, like you mentioned. Like, I think patients need to be informed of all of that stuff, right? I think it's being marketed in a crazy,
Oh,
unethical,
yeah.
but I do, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you do your
I was,
research.
I was aware of this, and I think it's so interesting how you mentioned that you lost 300 pounds, like you were 300 pounds or more, and you lost so much weight, and you don't have that much or any loose skin. That's just unheard of. Like, I wonder if there's any tips you have regarding that. But before we get into that, it's like when it comes to me, like I wanted this medication to help me get out of the 200 clubs or just give me a boost. But I knew from the beginning that I need to focus on my lifestyle and my mindset and everything. So before I took this injection, I had 2 months of working out, building, like, just changing everything around me, my environment, going to the doctor, working on like the root causes of stuff. And I felt like it helped me a bit for sure, but it's definitely something that there needs to be an exit plan. You need to know the reality of what you're getting yourself in, and that at the end of the day, it's not the solution. It's not the root problem of why you are obese. It's a lot of other issues. It's a lot of other behaviors, right? Would you agree with me on that? But I do believe that like medical injections or like weight loss medication, if it's the less of two evil, I feel like it can be helpful as long as it's being stewarded properly, the doses, and you have an exit plan, and you're also focusing on other journeys and factors in your weight loss journey and not just depending on that medication to help you.
I mean, I'm pretty hard on medications because it's not nature, and I do believe, because I've tried so many, I do believe it's better to just go to the whole source and not use medications, even if you're like morbidly obese, because it's not helping you get to the root of the problem. The problems really lie in the mindset around food and how we treat food. Food is supposed to be fuel, like for a car. It's not supposed to be something we eat because we're sad or we're angry. We talk a lot about this in our program, but that's what really needs to be fixed. So if you're doing any drugs to help, it's better than doing surgery, yes, but not taking any drugs at all is best, right? Because chemicals are not ever...
Well, and I feel like there's like an excavation process that we go through. I talked about it earlier, like this uncovering. And there's a time like where you were really into peanut butter. You were like so into peanut butter, and like I was like, well, maybe you should get rid of peanut butter, and it will help you move through this next.
And it did. I lost 30 pounds.
You were so angry. You were like, no, I love my peanut butter. Peanut butter's not bad for you. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's bad for you. I'm just saying change it up. Because our bodies need to constantly change it up. Like you've been doing the FODMAP, great, and then maybe you need to change something up. Like maybe you're eating, not you, but like people sometimes get really into Greek yogurt. And they're like, oh my, I'm going to live on Greek yogurt. I'm going to eat it 6 times a day. And that's my thing. And it's like, well, maybe actually you need to change that. Doesn't mean forever, but just change it up. Like your body constantly needs, like if you do the same ab exercise every day, you're no longer going to get results. Like you got to change up your cardio, you got to change up your abs. And so I think that the effect of drugs on the gut microbiome is so detrimental, and the bacterial balance of our gut, of our belly, is dependent on our health, our mood, our immune system, and our weight loss, the depth of our sleep, and so on and so forth. When you start to go in with man-made medicines and you adjust the biochemical nature of your body and even your DNA over time, it causes damage. And I just think there's ways to excavate in the diet and in the mindset and in your faith that will be far more powerful but might require you to get uncomfortable or, wildly creative and, to be able to get to that next level. Regarding the skin thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and to answer your skin question, the last question, I'm going to answer it and then we'll wrap up. The way that and you really helped me with this, thank you, Mom. We were not eating cellulose, allulose, tons of Cool Whip, even though Cool Whip is great and a lot of people think it's a great weight loss food. The sugar-free syrups and the zero-calorie dressings that you all think are so great for you are terrible for you. A lot of people are calorie counting and they don't realize, but the fats they put inside of the dressings and the allulose and cellulose inside of the Cool Whip, people don't realize that fat stays in your body forever. And there are places in my body that I will it's not that I have loose skin, it's just that I have really stubborn fat, and it could be because of the cellulose, but because I didn't eat enough tubs of Cool Whip during my weight loss journey, I don't have it like crazy everywhere.
It has to do also with the types of fats that you're eating.
Right.
So we don't look at fat as bad, but certain fats are not good for you. And when you are eating a dysregulated amount of certain types of fats, in trans fats or fried fats or highly processed oils like
roasted nuts.
Yeah, roasted nuts, fried food, a lot of saturated fat from animal products,
certain oils.
Canola oil, peanut oil, soy oil, corn oil. Like these oils will cause the skin to sag, and it will influence negatively the elasticity of the skin fibers. And so it'll be more difficult for you to recover your fat, the elasticity of the fat. Excuse me, as you lose the weight. So, I mean, that's kind of technical, but hopefully that helps. I've been studying it my whole life. I was trying to avoid it happening to me. I grew up with Fatso as my nickname. My first Weight Watchers meeting was at age 5. And I was in and out of Weight Watchers my whole life. I've done every diet too. And it wasn't until after I had Penelope almost 19 years ago that I actually started to really see the difference in the weight loss. And it was totally shocking when she, had this weight gain. I thought I had broken the chain, this genetic chain. And so here we are today, wanting to help as many people as we can.
Yes. And this is my last question. What are your thoughts about shapewear?
Okay. I love it. I don't think it's a good thing. Come on. Where is it? I think you should work out, but I mean, that's what I'm like. Why? It takes forever. Exercises for 30 years, Penelope. I still shapewear is lazy. It's true. Going to get plastic surgery is lazy. Just go to the gym, work out 6 days a week, get your butt in gear. If you want a hot bod, go create it yourself. God gave you. God gave you a beautiful body. Now it's your job to create the body that you want, because you can. You can, believe it or not. You can totally change your entire bone structure. My mom told me 2 years ago, you can change your bone structure. I was like, what are you talking about? I believe her now. I really do. I believe her now. So I'm a no to shapewear. Get banned shapewear. It's not good. Ban it. It's like catfishing.
It's like the plus size clothing example, right? For you?
Jasmine, shapewear is literally catfishing people.
How to give a girl some hope?
Shapewear is catfishing people. You see a girl wearing the shapewear. She has a fake butt pad on, fake stomach, fake boobs. She takes it off and you're like... You have no idea who this woman has become. Just between that.
There's a scene in a movie about that. Anyway, we gotta go.
I'm guilty of this, but yes, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Oh my God, Jasmine, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
God bless you.
Yes. So you can connect with me on Instagram at Jazzy Miguel, JAZZY MIGUEL, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Jazzy Miguel. You can go ahead and follow me as well on TikTok at Jazzy Miguel 2. And I am also about to launch a course on freelancing. So if that's something you're interested in, that's also something that I'm very excited about. Just helping ordinary people create more income and just establish a great skill set through freelancing. That's something I'm also known for as well. But I would love to connect with all of y'all if you guys are into fitness, health, faith, and just career, ambitious people. I'm definitely the girl to talk to about all of those stuff. So I hope we can stay.
Yeah, me
Of course.
too.
Thank you.
It was so great having you on, Jasmine.
Yes.
And as you guys know, you can always find us at Step It Ups on Instagram. Everything else is in the bio. You can check us out. And if you guys are interested in our program and you're needing help and support in weight loss, that will also be linked in the bio. So we're always here for you. Here for anyone, really. Even you, Jasmine. If you ever want support, we're always here for you. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode.